Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. Hari Om Tat Sat, beloved, make it so. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our Sunday morning discussion of an aspect of karma yoga. It's the month for that. There are some announcements. First, we will have 3 in-person face-to-face gatherings in our chapel starting on December 18th, a week from today. December the 15th, by the lunar calendar, is Holy Mother Sri Sharda Devi's birthday this year. The closest Sunday, of course, would be December 18th. And so, as one of our holiest of holy days, we will celebrate the birth of Sri Sharda Devi, Holy Mother, on December the 18th, with a simple, straightforward, non-tantric worship service and a discussion. That will be at 11 a.m. on December the 18th. Then on Christmas Eve, December the 24th, we will have and that I believe is a Saturday. We will have, 18th, 20, it is a Saturday. We will have our Christmas Eve service again in the chapel. Again, a simple, straightforward worship according to the Ramakrishna Order's way of doing things. The worship of Christ has always been simple, straightforward, and basically non-tantric. There are some tantric aspects that we won't involve ourselves with. And then on January the 1st, at 2:30 in the afternoon, we will have an observance, a loving and reverent observance of Kalpataru Day, the day that Sri Ramakrishna gave liberation and spiritual fulfillment to about 30 of his close disciples. So are there any other announcements I might have made that I didn't think to make? All right, dears. December is a month for study of karma yoga, a spiritual path leading to the abandonment of selfishness. As a karma yogi, you practice offering your actions and their fruits, as well as your perceptions, thoughts, and feelings to the divine presence. Even before fully knowing this presence, you hold firmly to the belief that the presence is within each person or other living being that you interact with or serve. Working and abiding in this spirit, you are increasingly able to release attachment to your activities and their results. This yields the freedom and contentment promised by Karma Yoga. As Sri Krishna says in chapter 2 of the Gita, at the end of chapter 2, he says, even a little practice of this yoga, even a little practice of this yoga will save you from the terrible wheel of rebirth and death. And how could that be? It means that you will be released from the bondage of karma, the bondage of the gunas. In that spirit, this morning, we're going to talk about good King Wenceslas, who, as you will see, was a saintly karma yogi. Good King Wenceslas, karma yogi. As always, let us be reminded that none of this is meant as personal instruction for you. You need not take this personally. You need not think that you're being told what to do. That's not at all what's the intention. The intention is simply to present this information for your consideration and to incorporate it into your spiritual life, your spiritual practice, as you see fit, and in no other sense. So please receive it in that way, and know that it is delivered lovingly and affectionately in that way, just as an invitation for you to consider these principles and practices. So as I said, this morning we're going to hear about good King Wenceslas, which, as we'll find out, is a Christmas carol, and here's how it goes. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Hither, page, and stand by me, if thou know'st it telling, yonder peasant, who is he, what and where his dwelling? Sire, he lives a good league hence, underneath the mountain, right against the forest fence, by St. Agnes' fountain. Bring me meat and bring me wine, bring me pine logs hither, thou and I shall see him dine, when we bear them thither. Page and monarch, forth they went together, through the fierce wind's wild lament, and the bitter weather. Sire, the night is darker now, and the wind blows stronger. Fails my heart, I know not how, I can go no longer. Mark my footsteps, my good page, tread thou in them boldly. Thou shalt find the winter's rage freeze thy blood less coldly. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. Heat was in the very sod that the saint had printed. In his master's steps he trod, where the snow lay dinted. Heat was in the very sod that the saint had printed. Therefore, Christian folk, be sure, wealth or rank possessing, those of you who serve the poor shall yourselves find blessing. Those of you who serve the poor shall yourselves find blessing. That's the Christmas carol, Good King Wenceslas. It's the story of a man, a king, who had become a saint. We are each called upon to be a Christ. We are each called upon to be a Christ, Swami Swahananda said to me. By this, I believe he meant you and I are invited to know God, become one with him, and then, as we are able, to offer our lives for the welfare of our sisters and brothers and all other living beings. Good King Wenceslas tells the story of such a transformation. It is a tale told in song by a servant, the page, about his master, a king in ancient Bohemia. The blessings of sainthood are returned many times over, as we hear in this legend of saintly Wenceslas and his faithful page. Rooted in mystical Christian tradition, this carol's symbolism tells the story of a monarch who is both an humble servant of God in man and a master of spiritual power. As Charles Dickens might have said, if you have not felt the inspiration of Good King Wenceslas, you may not have enjoyed the whole of Christmas. If you are in this deplorable condition, that can be remedied this morning. The Saints' Christmas Carol has been sung, and we will discuss the parable's meaning. Having come this far, are there any comments from your own wisdom or your own experience, or any concern or question that this raises about what it is to become a saint? As we'll see, becoming a saint means becoming Christ-like within the Christian tradition, or like the avatar, like the Ishvara in the Ramakrishna Vivekananda tradition. Anything at all from anyone?
Brother Shankar?
Yes, Haima.
When I read his story yesterday, it was so inspiring, Brother Shankara. He reminded me of Vibhushana in Sri Lanka, Ravanasura's brother, where Ravanasura is so opposite of Vibhushana, and then Wenceslas, his younger brother, killed him, assassinated him later. And when I thought about it, oh my God, it's what a wonderful, virtuous king here. And then there is the brother, unvirtuous, such an evil person.
Yes.
It was so inspiring, his story. I never heard of him until yesterday, until I saw the website about your Sunday talk. It's just amazing. All the saints had to go through so much pain in their life to become what they have become.
Wenceslas was indeed murdered by a younger brother who was jealous of his power and resentful of how he used it as a saint. But that's not really relevant to our story this morning. Thank you for bringing it up. But it does relate to the fact that this Feast of Stephen is also a celebration of a martyred saint. So somebody else was about to speak at the same time.
Yeah.
That was me. I just want to sort of add something to what Swahananda said about we are all called upon to be a Christ.
Yes.
Um, that to me, Christianity has always been like to follow that, to dare to say I am a Christian, is a very, very tall order.
Yes.
And
Oh, very well said.
shouldn't be said lightly. I think it was Maya Angelou. Somebody said to her that they were a Christian, and she said, "Oh, uh, wow, really?" She said, "I'm still working on that." um,
Yes.
but anyway, I digressed. I wanted to add to that that if you feel like you aren't up to the task, um, please don't get in the way of those who are up to it.
Ah, precisely what Vivekananda said. If you can help, if you can serve, do so. If you can't, stand aside and be out of the way. Yes. Thank you, Cindy. Very nicely said. And thank you, Haima. I'm glad you went and looked up the story of Wenceslas. It's quite a story. Anything else from anyone?
Brother Gaurav here.
Yes, Gaurav.
So I'm thinking about this. So is it not like if we give everything, if we offer all our stuff, means all our work, everything to God, we would generally be doing God's work?
There is no way for us not to do God's work. God alone is real. God alone is the doer. But it is how much of our awareness of this that governs whether we still live in the prison of I consciousness, of the small ego, or whether we are free of it. And so what Sri Krishna says, live sacramentally, offer everything to me. Then there will be no new karma accrued to your embodiment. You will, and slowly and slowly, as you are purified, the effects of your past karma will be lessened, will be mitigated. In other words, you are freed from this. Yes, to what you said. Thank you, Guru.
Brother Shankara?
Yes, dear.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I could be wrong, but for me, I also have to be mindful of the intent behind my action. So I could, I was into Christianity, and I'm now a recovered born again Christian. But when I was into it many, many years ago, I did things, service and do this for God and do that for God, but it wasn't coming from a pure loving place. It was coming from, I want to score brownie points with the Almighty Father.
Uh-huh.
I want to assure my place in heaven, because at the time I believed in heaven and hell. I didn't want my butt frying. So, things I did, it wasn't with pure loving intent. So when somebody says, giving everything to God, for me, where are you coming from? If you're coming from, this is my desire, this is what I'm moved to do, this is a loving thing, I think it could be loving. But if you're giving everything to God in a mindset of appeasing the all, for me, I could get in trouble with that. And I've seen people get in trouble with that. So I would just encourage myself, because ultimately we're all one. But I encourage myself and all others that when you give, be mindful of the intent behind what you're doing, because I could use it as a form of trying to manipulate God.
Yes, exactly. Which is why one of the yamas of Patanjali is Do not give or receive gifts unless your intent is perfectly pure. You do not give gifts unless your intention is pure, and do not accept gifts unless you believe that the giver's intentions are pure and not, as you said so accurately, manipulative. If you're trying to manipulate by giving a gift, or you feel as if you're trying to be manipulated by receiving a gift, do not. But of course, this is not what Sri Krishna means by living sacramentally as the key principle of karma yoga. He means, in a very pure sense, offer everything that you are and do as a sacrament, as a manifestation, an outward manifestation of the inward grace within. If you do it in that spirit, with that intention, then the troubles that you talked about, Frank, won't manifest. But you're absolutely right. Intention, what deserves our attention, and what is the motive behind our intention? So clear. Yes, thank you.
Brother, it kind of comes back to like Lord Buddha's saying that my intentions are pure, my intentions are good. No, my intentions are pure and my heart is good, or other way around.
Yes, my intentions are good and my heart is pure. That's what.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So exactly. So, but as as Frank was pointing out, this does not come to us easily. This is a lifelong practice. All right, we're going to start our discussion with a prayer by Swami Paramananda. Swami Paramananda was one of Swami Vivekananda's direct disciples, and this is one of the prayers written by Paramananda. All life is to teach us how we may bring the living presence of our ideal into our consciousness. Verily, thou art my life's fulfillment, the cause of my joy and sorrow. The cause of my joy and sorrow, laughter and grief, my soul's sunshine and heart's rain cloud. When our life becomes empty, to fill this emptiness, we try to gather from outside and we gain emptiness. We try to find something permanent and we seek it in the fleeting. Consciousness of the presence of the eternal within our soul alone will bring us peace and enduring satisfaction. Consciousness of the presence of the eternal within our soul alone will bring us peace and enduring satisfaction. There is no anarchy or accident in the cosmic universe. There is no heaven. There is no uneven distribution of favor and disfavor. Only as we seek that which does not shift or change do we find our fulfillment. O thou infinite and ever blessed one, thou art the conscious being, abiding in the hearts of all conscious beings. Do thou fill my heart with a living sense of consecration to thee, that I may learn to follow thy path with unwavering faith and wholehearted devotion. Grant me spiritual insight that I may know and do thy will. Do thou fill my heart with a living sense of consecration to thee, that I may learn to follow thy path with unwavering faith and wholehearted devotion. Grant me spiritual insight that I may know and do thy will. What will? What will is it that he's addressing? Hear this from the Chandi, from the Devi Mahatmyam. O Mother of the Universe, you are the all-pervading goddess who constantly presides over the senses of all beings and governs all the elements. Now, you may address this divine presence as mother or father, but this is this is what is meant by God alone is the doer, the omniscient, the omnipotent, the omnipresent. O Mother of the Universe, you are the all-pervading goddess who constantly presides over the senses of all beings and governs all the elements. How does that self-surrender to that will that Paramananda mentions, how does that self-surrender become a Saint Wenceslas? What does it mean to become a saint? Now, here is what this is rooted in. This is the Christian mystical tradition that this is rooted in. Listen to this from Jesus, which is in the Gospel of Thomas, Logion 108. Whoever drinks what flows from my mouth will come to be as I am, and I myself shall become that person. So what is hidden will be revealed. I'll repeat that. This is Logion 108 from the Gospel of Thomas. Jesus said, whoever drinks what flows from my mouth whoever drinks what flows from my mouth will come to be as I am, and I myself shall become that person. So what is hidden will be revealed. Sorry, my frustration is with my vision, dears. That's why the growl. I get so exasperated not being able to read. So, having come this far, any more to be said from your own wisdom or experience, or any concern or question that any of this raises? Because now we're going to move from this into a discussion specifically of the Good King Wenceslas Carol.
Brother Shankara, this is Fred.
Yes, Fred.
Greetings to everyone in the class. Thank everybody for being here. So we are always, the question of how can I do God's will? How can I do this? That's very personal, first of all, but we are all doing the will of Brahman, right?
There's no question.
So are we doing the will of Ishvara, whoever it is, that we have a divine ideal?
Within time, space, and causation, we are doing the will that was expressed in that verse from the Chandi. We are, and the intentions do not always seem to us, the actions and the intentions of the divine do not always seem to us to be right, to be fair, this is why Paramananda said, there is no uneven distribution of favor or disfavor.
Right. That's what brought to mind this question. Then the murderer is doing the will of God, just like the saintly person, right? Or not really? Or...
This is exactly what Vivekananda says. Yes. There is only one doer. And so, does this mean we condone, in a social sense, we condone the murderer? Of course not. We have laws, very reasonable, good laws, to try and keep antisocial behavior from happening and punish it when it does happen. But this is why in the great religious traditions, one way or another, it is said, condemn, abominate the misguided behavior, but love the sinner.
Right. Have a certain detachment instead of a personal hate for them, some equanimity.
Yes, as we'll hear when we discuss this Christmas carol in more detail. Wenceslas it would have been perfectly within his rights to seize this poor man who's gathering fuel and have him summarily hung. Simply have a little judgment trial, say, you violated the law. And so in those days, violating the law, theft of that kind, it was possible to punish it by death. So this is why this is such an interesting hymn.
So, brother, can I say something
Please,
about this?
Gaurav, please.
I feel about the saint we're talking about, Wenceslas. So I'm thinking deep within, because he is such a pure person, feels like so he's giving everything onto God. So he would think, passing a judgment and hanging this guy, is that something I want to offer to Christ?
Well,
Probably
yes,
not.
exactly. But it
so you keep following that pursuit, and you will automatically start doing the right things, I believe.
Well, this is what Christ meant. He said, follow what I tell you to do, and I will become you. You will become me. You will behave as I behave, which was, of course, of this self-sacrifice, giving the life for the welfare of our sisters and brothers and all other living beings.
Yeah.
Thank
Brother,
you. Yes, Raji.
The one way to look at it is like, if you see the image of Mahakali or Mother Kali, she rides a donkey, and I think the key question is here, whenever we look at like somebody who's like, especially it's very difficult to view a petty thief or something, but if somebody's truly like evil, some of the politicians and warlords, I mean, is that a donkey being ridden by Mother Kali? I mean, And I think every donkey on his earth is being sort of, Mother Kali is riding it. And then there is also this other mother who rides a cow, and that cow is, I think they say that cow means knowledge. So, I mean, I think forcibly or without any knowledge, I mean, you will end up being an instrument of the mother. It's just how you do that.
Precisely. This is why early on in this discussion, Frank Badia brought up the question of intention. What is your intention? Thank you, Rajiv. Anything else from anyone? All right.
Shankara,
Yes, dear.
do you happen to remember that poem by Thomas Aquinas about the blemish?
Yes. Oh, yes. Very much.
Can you tell folks about that?
Well, yes.
Thanks.
St. Thomas Aquinas, in the poems that are presented as love poems from God in Daniel Ladinsky's book by that title, Thomas Aquinas is saying to God, I want to love you, all of you. I want to be united with you in divine union, all of you. And the first thing that God says back to him is, he says, are you kidding me? It's like a mouse trying to impregnate a tiger. Like a mouse trying to impregnate a tiger. If I showed my full being to you, you would run away. And Aquinas says, still, this is my wish, this is my intention, Lord, to love all of you. And God replies, well, there is a hideous blemish on my body. It is all the suffering and horror that human beings experience. Can you kiss even that? And Aquinas says, I will try, Lord, I will try. So self-surrender is not for the faint of heart. You have to surrender, as Fred Hughes was pointing out, you have to surrender to all of it. The darkness as well as the light. As long as we exist within time, space, and causation and have the sense of I consciousness, of this separation that is represented by all these screens we see on this Zoom meeting. As long as we have that, then we must, if we are to practice self-surrender and be as a Christ. What did Christ say? Judge not, lest ye be judged. If your brother asks you for your cloak, give him your coat also. Your offering is worthless if you take it to the temple and you are still at odds with your brother. Heal your relationship with your brother. Then your offering will be worth something. So this is a spiritual struggle. And we're hearing the story of someone who had succeeded. He's manifesting the powers of the divine. This is, we would call this what he did, a miracle, this creating the heat that would save his page from freezing to death. It's no miracle at all. It's not no more than what Christ did are truly miracles. They're simply a manifestation of the power that is possessed by anyone who has embodied that omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence.
Are you done? I'm sorry.
Yes, yes,
I
yes. No,
I
go
didn't want
right
to
ahead.
interrupt you. In the story of Good King Wenceslas, the person that they're helping is, I don't know, we don't know a whole lot about this person, but what if this person were, for instance, a person who did bad deeds or just all kinds of things, was involved in some really bad stuff. This is not, I'm not really, what I'm thinking about is all these stories we hear about people who give without judgment. I mean, I agree, that's the only way to truly give of yourself. If you start judging or trying, like someone's asking for money at the side of the road, you either just give them the money freely or just don't, because if you're judging them, whether they're worthy or not, you're not doing it right.
Precisely. And this is why the king says, hither page and stand by me, if thou know'st it telling. Yonder peasant, who is he? Where and what his dwelling? And so before he serves this person, he is coming to some understanding of who it is that he's seeing there.
Well, would he have changed his mind if he had, I'm thinking of real life situations for us where there is someone in our lives that we know that keeps asking for things of us that we know for a fact, because we observe it, are detriment. If we give what they ask, it's detrimental to them and probably us too.
Well, this falls within the category that was discussed earlier as one of Patanjali's yamas, restraints. If people are asking of you, what is their intention? What are they trying to do? And if it is not appropriate, if it is not auspicious, then it's probably best not to cooperate. Each of these is such a fine line to draw. This is why spiritual life is called walking the razor's edge. And why Maya isn't just called Maya, this illusion of time, space, and causation, it is called Mahamaya. And it is very powerful indeed, as Sri Krishna points out in the Gita. It's very hard to get beyond my gunas, he says. And it takes constant work over many years. But what Christ said in that Logion that was read is that if you do it, what happens is slowly and slowly, he will actually become you. That is, the divine being will manifest itself fully through your embodiment. And you become a saint. This is what Swami Swahananda was saying when he says, we are each called upon to be a Christ.
And also what Swami Prabhavananda said about your chosen ideal is you.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Learn to feel that living presence. Yeah.
Precisely, dear. Precisely. The quote that Cindy was just referring to from Swami Prabhavananda is, the chosen ideal, that is, that aspect of the divine, personal or impersonal, does not make any difference. The chosen ideal is you yourself, no different learn to feel that living presence. That is his first, Swami Prabhupananda's first instruction for the practice of meditation.
I think coming from a personal experience, brother, like whatever Miss Cindy said, and it is absolutely. It's like a person is a drug addict. You give him more money. It's going to be bad. So that. So that knowing thing, I think it comes from within, that is speaking to you. And at that point of time, you decide, no, I should not, probably.
Very good, Gaurav.
That's what I'm starting to realize a lot in my life, actually.
Well,
You know the answer deep within. You know the answer.
Yes,
So
that is the action of the buddhi. That is the discriminating power that is within you. Our conscience, as it is called.
Because I might love this person to death, but I know it's gonna be not good. Means I care for him so much that I'm not going to do something that will cause more pain to him.
Yes, and it's very, very difficult, particularly if you're living with such a person.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. If you're living with someone who is self-medicating to the point where it's addictive behavior and it's really inauspicious and is a drain on resources and is disrupting everyone's life, how difficult this is. And this is why AA has Al-Anon for those people who are living with alcoholics, to educate them as to how best to deal with. And it's not pretty.
I'd like to say something here.
Please, Robert.
This is a very delicate situation that we're talking about here.
Mm-hmm.
And one way to look at it is this. As we go through life, we either experience it getting it right, or we have an experience of a lesson not yet learned.
Mm-hmm. Precisely.
So I see it. There's no such thing as getting it wrong. There's no such thing as if we think that we are keeping this person, or that this person smokes, and we are not, the person asks us for money for a cigarette and we don't give it to them, and we believe that we are doing the right thing, but we are judging something that we really don't know the answer to.
Precisely, Robert. This is why it's so damn difficult.
Right.
Why we have to purify ourselves until we do know what's the right thing to do.
Right. If we don't do it, we could be preventing that person from learning the lesson that they need to learn in order to be able to correct their situation themselves, because we can't correct it for them. They have to do it.
Absolutely, you can.
And if we can do something, and if we can do something to assist them in correcting it, that may be the correct way to go.
Well, this is why Swami Prabhupada said something else. People have a right to their pain and suffering.
Right.
Do not try to remove it. Sustain and comfort. And that sustaining and comforting someone who is in that kind of difficulty is a very demanding thing. What to do, what to do, what to do. And so this is why we must, if we're going to move in this direction of being, as Sri Ramakrishna says, like an expert dancer that cannot put a foot wrong. We must purify ourselves because, as you pointed out, Robert, there's no way we can change another person. The only person that we can change is ourselves. And it is a lifelong, for those who commit themselves to it, it is a lifelong effort. And then the grace falls on us of something of manifesting what Christ said in that Logian 108.
Brother, there's also
which is what's happened to Wenceslas.
there's also another aspect of this is that, like in my life, I recollect, there were people who I judged to be inauspicious, and obviously they had a terrible sort of impact. But I think in my highest moments, like especially when I sit down to meditate, I realize that it is because my soul needed that, or not. I'm not sure about soul or whatever that is, but that was God's will to sort of have me go through that experience. So it's like baking a sort of when they make pots, they have to bake the clay or whatever that is. I mean, there's still like bad samskaras or something in deep inside that need to exhaust themselves, and that is the reason that opportunity has been given.
Yes, well, this is exactly it. You are manifesting that which the divine wishes you to manifest. It is the actions of the gunas. This is what Sri Krishna says that makes real what Sri Ramakrishna repeats again and again. God alone is the doer. All else is illusory.
And I think many people also say, like, especially the saintly type of people say that even if you escape from that situation, you will take that with you and you will recreate the situations elsewhere. Like, let's say there is a very sort of horrible person you are dealing with, and if you try to run away from that person and escape, wherever you go, you will encounter those situations in some other way.
Exactly. There are so many folk tales that tell us that just exactly the truth of what you just said, Rajiv. You must resolve the issue within yourself in whatever way. And this is why the spiritual practices of karma yoga, the abandonment of selfishness, transforms everything. When you stop thinking in terms of how will this affect me, how can I take advantage of this situation, how can I make sure that I'm getting enough for myself, when those thoughts are restrained and you become more appropriate and moderate in your behavior and replace those inauspicious behaviors with the observances of the niyamas. And of course, the same advice is given in the Gita. It's just not as condensed as it is in Patanjali. Patanjali had the benefit of knowing the Gita and being able to distill it in this way. So we do the very best we can to purify ourselves. And as we purify ourselves from self-centeredness, then we find that more and more we are spontaneously and auspiciously and appropriately responding to what the world offers us.
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
I don't think I'm adding anything too new, but what I was feeling is, or thinking, that whether we give or don't give something to somebody else because we feel that that is not, good for them or whatever, but the giving or the not giving, if we do with as much love and prayer as possible, then it will still result in some degree of goodness. It will reduce the riddhis in our own mind, because we don't have to dwell on, oh, should I have given, should I have not given, but we have given with love. And then what happens is, not up to us. And that way we feel more at peace, whether we give or not give, if we do with love and prayer.
Precisely. And that is, so what has been done that is so good is a purification of yourself. Whatever, as you said, you've done with regard to the other person is completely out of your control. You can't, if you give a gift, you can't control what the person does with the gift. So it's no longer yours to control. So you simply do or not do, as you say, with love and the very strongest of loving intentions toward that person. And then what happens, happens. And is this easy? It's very simple to say, but in practice, it is very, as Cindy was pointing out earlier, it is sometimes very, very difficult to ascertain. And this is why we have to, if we're going to practice in this direction, we have to purify ourselves so that we become spontaneously, fluidly appropriate and auspicious. And as you just said, then Swayam, we don't look back. As Swami Swahananda used to say, what's done is done, go forward.
Brother,
Yes, dear.
I've noticed, like, if you are truly giving somebody in an unattached manner, you tend to forget what you have given, actually, how much
Yes,
you've given.
yes, yes, yes.
You don't have any real, it's hard to recollect. Oh, no, I don't know.
No, of
Take
course not, because you just gave what was appropriate in the moment, and there's no reason for you to recollect it. There's no reason for you to keep a ledger. You did it, finished, it's done. This is why it's good never to lend money. If you're going to offer someone some money, simply give it to them. Well, we've just about run out of time, dear. So we don't have a whole lot of time to discuss this is perfectly appropriate. This is just exactly what we should be doing. But I will give you just a little background about this carol. Good King Wenceslas was written by John Mason Neal, who lived in the 19th century, the early 19th century, early to mid. He was an Anglican clergyman with a strong interest in the Eastern Orthodox Church. The Eastern Orthodox Church avoided some of the things that created the Anglican Church, that is to say, the excesses of the Roman Catholic Church. So he had this Anglican clergyman, this English clergyman, had a strong interest in Eastern Orthodox work. This is his most famous work. And the subject is Saint Wenceslas the First. He was a Duke of Bohemia when he lived in the 10th century, early to mid 10th century. He's considered a martyr and a saint. So after his death, he was named a king, elevated from dukeship to kingship by Holy Roman Emperor Otto I. So he was, as Haima pointed out very early on in our discussion, he was killed by his younger brother, who was jealous of his primogeniture, the fact that he had inherited, and was very jealous of his power and the thought that he was using it inappropriately. This isn't the only song about Wenceslas. There are many songs and morality tales that were carried from courts and cities in Europe by minstrels and so on. I'll just say a little bit about who this Saint Stephen was. As it's the first verse of the song says, good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. This feast of Stephen is December 26th, the day after Christmas. And it is dedicated to Saint Stephen, the first martyr of the Christian church. He was the first to be murdered. His life was taken because of his Christian teachings. But the day has become, in the Eastern Orthodox Church and also in England, it has been a day to serve the poor. So the poor man coming in sight, gathering winter fuel. I said something earlier about what this gathering winter fuel, it was against the law to take wood from the forest that was protected by the king. The reason for that was deforestation. If people had been allowed to just take wood, they would have cut down all the trees and there would have been no trees. There would have been no forest. And this was regarded as inauspicious. So it was against the law. So when this poor man comes in sight, gathering winter fuel, the first thing that Wenceslas does is ask his page, who is this guy? Is he one of us? Is he one of ours? Or is this somebody that we don't know? And so we need to deal with him differently than we would if we were dealing with one of our own. But as the page says, very circumspectly, he doesn't answer the question very fully. He just says, well, he's one of ours and he lives over by St. Agnes Fountain, just outside the forest fence underneath the mountain. And so the king, then recognizing who he is as one of their own, does this charitable act of saying, bring me food, bring me good wood, much far better wood than the man would have been able to gather on his own, and we'll take it to him and we'll feed him. Which, of course, in 10th century Bohemia, in the winter, wood and food were scarce. So, if you want to read the whole of the carol, it's of course, the lyrics are in the notes for this talk that will be posted sometime next week by Cindy on the website, in our archives, and on the YouTube channel. So you'll be able to find all the lyrics, which you can find by just going to, if you just put a Good King Wenceslas in the search window of your browser, it'll come up as well. Any final thoughts or questions from anyone? I think this was a very productive discussion of what it means to live out spiritual practice, particularly in the sense of karma yoga. The abandonment of selfishness and the attainment of greater and greater purity, which leads to what Christ said in Logian 108. I will become you. That is to say, I will fully inhabit your embodiment. In Vedantic terms, this means that what is present in you is the Atman and the Atman only, the presence of this chosen ideal, which is your form of the Atman. That will become who you are. It is you yourself, but you will manifest it. Any final comments or questions?
Yes, I agree. I think this was a very productive meeting, and some very good points were made very early. Frank made a very good point.
Yes.
About intention, what your intention is.
Amen.
You know.
It was echoed in various ways.
Yes.
Throughout, and much was. This is exactly what it means to study the art of spirituality together. And I rejoice in it. And I rejoice in the fact that we're entering these holy days where we'll celebrate the birth of Holy Mother, who was helped to transform the world. I mean, when I say helped, that means she and Sri Ramakrishna together. That's what I mean by helped. They were world transforming. And then, of course, the earlier incarnation of that same power in the being of Jesus Christ, we will celebrate with a very loving worship service. So it's a great favorite of mine because I was brought up as a Christian boy and feel very close to Christ. There will be a lovely Christmas Eve worship on December 24th, and then a celebration of the power of the divine to grant us by a mere wish, a mere touch, our full fulfillment, enlightenment, liberation, call it what you will. And that is Kalpataru Day, January 1st. And we'll celebrate Sri Ramakrishna's doing this in a physical sense with about a few more than 30 of his disciples. Any final thought or comment from anyone?
Brother Gaurav here.
Yes.
I chanced upon this beautiful poem from the Love Poem from God. It's written by St. Thomas Aquinas. It's a very short poem. Would you like me to read it?
Sure, go right ahead.
It's okay. It is every foot a shrine. Every creature has a religion. Every foot is a shrine where a secret candle burns. Every cell in us worships God. Every arrow in the bow of desire has rushed out in hope of nearing him.
Priceless. Every arrow in the bow of desire has rushed out in the hope of nearing him. Yes, exactly. That's what we're striving for, even if our efforts are misdirected.
I think that is the good intention part we're talking about.
Yes, indeed. And good intentions do indeed, over time, bear fruit.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gaurav. Anything else from anyone?
Hi, Brother Shankara. This is Shimoyi. How you doing?
Oh, Chinmoy, so good to hear from you.
Yes. I have a burning desire, I call it. I was pondering on what was said about, giving, or if they are addicts, or, what they're going to do with the money. And also if they are, if we're doing the the will of God. And I couldn't help myself but to ask our fellow congregations to ask themselves, like, who is the giver and who is the receiver? You know, thou art dead. If we are dead, they are also dead.
Yes, absolutely, Chinmoy.
and so
Absolutely.
there's no separation. It is just in the play of Maya, we all have, I call it a role, you know, that we're playing, a good one or a bad one, which is a judgment of the mind. But if you sit in the place of the witness and look at the play, and then you just do your role as best as you can without the judgment, you know, and then you won't have that conflict if I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing, or if I'm giving them the money for what are they doing, you know, because there is no separation, you know.
There is no
And
separation, and we do the best we know how in any given moment. And then if we're wise, we release all thought of what
yes,
was done.
yes, exactly. I when I discovered this, and I had a lot of guilt and judgment, then I just kind of sit back, trying to be the witness, and I saw, well, it's just a play, and it remove the guilt and the judgment. And you know, I'm not perfect, of course, you know, because this jiva is in body and doing my role. But when I'm in doubt, I try to sit in the witness chair and then just look at the play, and that's all I got.
That's wonderful, Chinmoy. That's exactly it. That witness is the face of the Atman. It is the face that we can know within time, space, and causation of the Saguna Atman, the Atman that acts, that is to say, has intentions and affirms and thereby sanctions our actions. That's what I mean by acts. There is this Saguna, the Atman with the it's called Shakti or Kali or Mother or whatever you want to call it. But nevertheless, that is the divine being as that which is acting from and within us. Anything else from anyone? Thank you so much, Chinmoy, for your contribution.
No problem. Hello, everybody.
So shall we wind it up?
Shankara?
Yes, dear.
And thank you, Chinmoy. It's good to know you're here. But I just wanted to mention how Christ says in the Gospels somewhere, I don't know if Thomas or the other Gospels, but to give to all that ask of you.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Swami Prabhupada said too. If you are asked, give. And of course, he was just echoing what Christ said. But each of us will make our own determinations in any given moment about what is auspicious and appropriate.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes we can give in a way other than what they're asking for.
Yes.
Just
and this is why
with kindness.
This is what when the Swami said sustain and comfort. Those are such amorphous words. What does it mean to sustain someone who's in need of sustenance? What does it mean to support them without enabling them, as is said in Al-Anon? Very, very tricky. And that's why spiritual life is a struggle and why we just do the best we can and then let it go. As Swami Swahananda said over and over, what's done is done. Go forward. Don't look back. Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Anything else from anyone? All right. Let there be peace in outer space. Let there be peace in the sky, on the earth, and in the waters. Let there be peace in the herbs, the plants, and the trees. May the gods be peaceful. May the whole universe be pervaded by peace. Let that infinite universal peace prevail throughout my being. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace and beneficence be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere, without exception. And as I said to you, as is so often the case these days, there's more on the pages that were prepared for this talk than we were able to get to. So if you're interested or curious about what else is there, there's of course some discussion of the hymn, the carol itself, and then there's a little interpretation from the point of view of Ramakrishna Vivekananda Vedanta. But the key is what was said. And the key to this whole thing is that Logian 108 of Christ's. That if you drink from what comes from his mouth, he will become you. And that's what it means to become a saint and to answer the call. We are each called upon to be a Christ. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. May we be safe. May we be healthy. May we be cheerful. May we have peace of mind. And may we be always in the loving and protective embrace of the Divine Being as our Mother and Father. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. O dearly beloved, make it so. Any final thought from anyone?
Thank you, brother.
Oh, you're most welcome, dear.
Thank you, brother.
And
Thank you so much.
you're also very welcome, and thank you so very much. You know how much this is a mutual love, and how this is just beyond expression joyful. So until Tuesday, we'll have our Tuesday, Wednesday, and Saturday classes next week. And then on the 18th, we'll meet in the chapel to celebrate the birthday of Sri Sharada Devi, our Holy Mother.
So the chapel's going to be open, brother?
Yes, the chapel will be open, and we'll have a the chapel is always open for your use.
Yes.
But we will actually have that's our first face-to-face meeting. We're having 3 in the next weeks. The worship of Holy Mother at 11 a.m. on the 18th. The Christmas Eve worship at 11 a.m. on the 24th, and then Kalpataru Day at 2:30 p.m. on the 1st of January. So these are 3. And look on the newsletter. Look into the newsletter on the website page for the terms and conditions, so to speak. You must be vaccinated. You must be willing to wear a mask. And I mean must be willing to wear a mask during the time that we're not actually coming back to the monastery and eating some prasad. and we're going to keep our distance from one another even in that condition. So anyway, la-di-da-di-da. Until next time, dears, so good to be with you. Jai Ma, Jai Ma, Jai Ma.